What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you about Rivian. I want to go over what is really causing so much volatility today, what the data points are currently saying, and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that said, let's get right to it. So Rivian is down 6.31%. 4.17 million shares have been traded within the first about 30 minutes of the trading day. 54.6 million is the average. When it comes down to what is causing all of this, it's more so to do with Tesla rather than Rivian. Rivian did put out some news this morning. They did unveil their Q1 production and delivery numbers. So they produced 13,980, delivered 13,588. So of course, somewhat rectifying the Q4 gap between produced and delivered, in my opinion. Still, there is some unassigned inventory that they'll have to really talk about during their earnings, which they did slate it for May the 7th. So in my opinion, this is relatively good news because it is kind of in line with their targets, and this is what prompted it to go up as high as it did to roughly around 1160 pre-market. Crazy stuff. But then again, Tesla had other plans for the broader market, so they came out and they did, looks like produced 433,000 vehicles and delivered 387. Forecast initially for delivered was 413. So they did barely miss, but of course, 2024 has been all about efficiency, and so the market is taking this as a very big negative, thus causing the EV market to go down. So all in all, this is what is happening to Rivian today. Aside from that, no SEC filings, nothing like that. I'll give you a quick overview of some of the current data points and as well a brief overview of their Q1 earnings and some expectations. So right now, shorts are kind of piggybacking off of the broader market's kind of fears right now. So shorts are increasing 876,000 shares. 18.21% of the free float is being shorted. That works out to be 125.72 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost of borrow average is 1% and utilization is 63.83. While I'll just quickly pop over here. So again, when it comes down to their upcoming earnings, their Q1, you'll really want to watch for them to explain the inventory, because I believe last quarter there was a good amount, like I think 3,000 plus, that's been unassigned. So obviously there was more produced rather than delivered, and that obviously is being carried forward into this earnings. So we'll just have to wait and see again what does come from that. But coming from a earnings per share standpoint and revenue, so a lot of key metrics that people look for, right now there's 16 analysts with a consensus of negative $1.15. So that's kind of a little bit better than their Q4 and somewhat in line with their, I guess, plan for profitability in second half of 2025, possibly, or maybe even 2026. Looking at the revenue, 17 analysts with a consensus of 113 billion. And so a couple analysts did jump on board because it went from 15 to 17 analysts, and it did go from 1.11 billion to 1.13. So the analysts that did jump on board were relatively optimistic, and with Rivian putting out their numbers, definitely you'll see a lot more analyst ratings. So as of right now, there's been nothing, but most likely near the tail end of the day, this is where they will start to trickle in. So in my opinion, I think a lot of analysts should be somewhat optimistic about Rivian's numbers because again, it's kind of in line with their targets. So Rivian didn't really miss, but who knows, maybe Tesla might just overshadow the whole EV market. Moving on, looking at some other data points, take this with a grain of salt because of course the market just opened roughly about 30 minutes, but a lot of money is getting into Rivian through options. 1.54 million in calls being purchased, 1.15 in puts. Sentiment wise, somewhat evenly divided, but 41% of all the options being done so far today are optimistic. And of the call options that are being purchased, there's a consensus for it to be above roughly $12 by the end of next week. So kind of optimistic. Then looking at puts, you do see a consensus for it to be sub $10. So both extremes. Looking right here, you do see big money buying the dip, not substantial transactions, but a good amount, kind of in line with the average. So again, that's kind of a good thing. If you are looking at trading Rivian right now with it at $10.40, it is exactly on this S1. So this has been somewhat the saving grace for Rivian, because it did have a very swift sell-off to $10.26. So things are looking very scary for Rivian, at least on a technical aspect, because if it does fail to hold this S1, then it is going to be most likely going into the $9 range, and of course that would be a all-time low for Rivian. So it's kind of on a interesting slope. It's staring off of a cliff, as what I like to typically call it, but so far it seems to be holding. I did buy today at $10.36, quite a lot in fact. I think around 2,500 shares or 3,000 shares. So I'm pretty happy with that ultimately, and I think in reality it did get filled. So I think all in all, I'm pretty happy with Rivian at these prices, because based on this price alone, they have more cash. So you can kind of think of it that way, or you might just think of it another way. I don't know. You guys do whatever floats your boat. I really do like Rivian, and I still do feel that Rivian is going to be one of the big contenders against Tesla in the coming years. And these numbers, yeah, I think in reality, a lot of people anticipated Rivian to come out with like mind-blowing numbers just to far exceed that 57,000 target. But it's going to be coming down to Q3 and Q4. So that's literally what EVs always do. They pump it near the tail end of the year. And especially once interest rates do get cut, you're going to see demand increase. So these aren't that bad for Q1 numbers in my opinion. But looking on the actual chart, it is still lower percentile of the Bollinger Band. Looking at the stochastic, it is considered somewhat oversold. No defined trend right now. A number of retail investors have been getting out over this last little bit, ever since it looks like the 14th. So are you one of those individuals that have been selling, or have you been buying? What have you been doing with Rivian? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, make sure you guys take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account with Moomoo and throw $100 at it, and they give you 7 fractional shares of that 𝗪𝗧. Amazing deal. It does have a total value of roughly about $35. So that's pretty good return on investment for just throwing in $100. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And with all that, appreciate all of you watching.